Okay, let's start showing the version of Morph and creating a workspace and checking out the master branch of definitions. Oops. Now let's go to the branch, and this is the SAWAN that we are going to build. Okay, let's build the systems. First of all, init test. Now the OpenStack system. And the installer system. This is what we need to do deployments of installer system with OpenStack. Let's go now to the wiki to see what we need to do the deployments. Let's go to the wiki page. We are going to use the PixieBoot Crate extension, and we need these values to deploy to hardware. And this is the values that I'm going to use for my hardware. Okay. Let's see what we need else. Well, let's go to the devel system, and let's go to the clusters folder. Yeah. We are going to copy the example that we have here. All right. And let's have a look at it. So, yeah, this is the example. As we can see, this is deploying a build system, and we don't want to deploy that. So let's exit from here, and we are going to copy the example of one node deployment of OpenStack. And we are going to copy the example. No. And we are going to put that example here. Yep. Okay, this looks okay, but yeah, we have to indent this because now it's a subsystem, not a system. So, okay. Okay, and this is the system that we were installing in the previous example, in the example of the installer system. And we are going to copy these lines because are the lines that we need for this deployment. Has to be a sysroot, and we have to put the location and the init manifest path and these kernel args, and we can remove the other lines. Let's configure now the system. This is the external interface of my OpenStack system. We can remove that system, and Yep, let's configure the IP address of the system. In my case, it's going to be this one. And here we also have to configure the IP, right? And yeah, I think it's ready. Oh, yeah. Now we have to configure the installer system. Let's change the location. Let's see. Here I have the MAC address of the machine I'm going to deploy to. The IPMI user. Let's see the password. Let's copy it. Yep, and the IPMI address. Okay. Yeah, the deploy interface. I have connected the machine I'm going to deploy to the VLAN 7 of my network. So I created a separate interface for it, which is this one. So yeah, let's put that interface here. So now, okay, this should be ready. Yep, looks okay. I'm going to put the Pixieboot target interface as well, because I have some problems with this hardware. To have more information about that one, that variable, you can check the help of the write extension folks. This is yep, and you can find here the information of why I'm using that variable. Okay, let's go now to do the deployment. This is the machine I'm going to deploy to on the right, and let's just deploy system and see what happens. And now, as we can see, the system is going to reboot to Pixieboot the system that we have just deployed. Here we go. It's starting to pixie boot the system. It's fetching the kernel and booting the kernel. And it's going to load the rootfs of the installer system and begin the installation. Now it should be installing, and this might take a while. Okay, it has finished. It's rebooting now the system, so we can release the resources that we were using with this kind of deployment. All right. Now this machine should reboot and boot the system that we have just installed, which is the OpenStack system. I'm going to try to set up our password. Let's see if I can. And 10, 24, 24, 185. Yep. SSH in is going to be easier. There we go. Let's run systemctl to see if all the services are running. We can check that they are. And we can check as well that we can see OpenStack using Horizon. There we go. Let's go back to the wiki, to the guide of OpenStack on Baserock, and see what we need to configure to have the networking working. So yeah, the OpenStack system on the right. So let's copy this. This is the IP range that they suggest to configure, but mine is a bit different. So let's create that configuration and let's go to modify it. The range I have allocated for this machine is this one. And now we can restart the network service, which is systemd network D. And now we should have that configured. Here it is. I'm going to continue following the guide. Let's set up the environment variables to have admin access. As they suggest here, you have to change the word controller for the hostname of your machine. Mine is one node. Okay, as you can see. And now we can configure the physical network by running this command. Yep, sometimes this happens. You have to do this, and now you can do this again. Right, now let's configure the network allocation. Mine was different, so let's modify it first. And yeah. And now I can run this. Okay. Let's continue with the guide. Let's create a demo tenant and set up the environment for it. Again, we have to change the word controller for the hostname. One node. And let's configure the tenant with a network. And let's create a router for this network. Okay. Alright, now we can create an image, a zeros image in this tenant. And let's check that things are working. Okay, we can access as a demo user. Let's see the images. And here we go, we have the zeros image. And now we can continue with the guide and boot the system with this command. And we can see the progress from Horizon. Now it's building. Yeah. Okay, it finished. Let's open it now, and as we can see, it is running. We can see the log, we can see the console, we can see the action log of Juno, the overview of the system. Yeah, now we can continue the guide. Yeah, let's go add a volume. We have created it, and now with this command we can add the volume to the VM that we have just put. Okay. Let's go to the console, and we can see this is the kernel output when we plug a new volume. we can double check from here, from the volumes page. And yeah, we can see that this is attached to the test instance. Okay. Yep, let's configure some security groups to allow ping and SSH to the VM. And let's create a floating IP for the VM that we have just created, so we can test that we can access to the VM from outside using SSH. Okay, this was the IP. Zeros is the user, but this doesn't work. Okay, we have to do this, but from outside of the OpenStack system. Alright, now there we go. Okay, and let's go use the password for by default, zeros, and we are in. We can close this. And yep, let's go now to try to test that the volume that we have attached works. Let's try to mount it. Okay. Let's mount. We have to format it first. Confess. X64. All right. Okay. Oh, so this should be working already. Yep. Yeah, it's mounted. This last mount. So that has worked, and we can check the size. Yep, 2 gigabytes that we have set. Let's go back to the guides and let's going to check that we can deploy it using Baserock to OpenStack. Let's copy the example cluster morphology to deploy to OpenStack. And yeah, we should modify those values. Let's go back to the devel system. We are going to create a cluster morphology with an example. Okay, let's go call it. Well, let's deploy first a devel system. Let's copy the example here, and let's change the name. And as I say before, we have to modify these values to deploy to our OpenStack. Here I'm going to put one node because I can resolve. Well, I will be able to resolve the name from my machine. the demo tenant, this tenant, and let's call it devel system. This will be fine. And I'm going to put here the password because I don't want to do it in the command line. Okay. Let's edit the hots file to configure the IP of the OpenStack system, which is this one. And now we will be able to resolve that name and do the deployment. Okay, let's do the deployment. Well, no, let's check first that we have the system built. There we go. And now let's do the deployment. There we go. We can open Horizon, yeah. And once the deployment starts, we will be able to see the progress from there as well. As you can see here, the image is being deployed. And had finished. Let's do the same now with a trove. So first of all, I'm going to copy the previous example, the previous deployment cluster. I'm going to create one called trove to OpenStack. And I'm just going to modify system inside. This is a trove system. Let's have this. Let's put here trove generic so that the trove configuration extension doesn't complain about the configuration variables. We can configure the system later once it's deployed. Let's build the system now. And now let's deploy it. Okay, so we can now, looks like I forgot to change the name of the trove. I'm going to edit it. Trove. Okay. And now we can Well, let's first access as an admin, so I can show you that Ceilometer is working. Admin. From the stats tab, we can check whatever we want to see, and also generate a daily report. For example, okay, and now we can continue with these examples of a Trove and a Devil system. Let's deploy the systems. Let's instantiate them. This can be small. Yep, launch. And now we can associate a floating IP to this machine. Okay. And let's do the same now with the Trove. This one, I'm gonna make it large. Okay, launch. Let's configure a floating IP for the Trove as well. And yeah, let's configure a password for the root user. Otherwise, we won't be able to SSH in. Okay. I'm going to do the same with the Trove. I'm going to copy the IPs here. And now let's SSH in the Devil machine first. Okay, and let's run more version to check that it's working. And Okay, I think now we can go to the trove and configure it. Let's copy the IP of the trove. SSH. And to configure it, we can go to the guide section and here to deploy a trove to OpenStack. And from here, this script, which is a cloud init script, we can just use it to configure the trove. So let's do that. Let's generate the SSH keys. Let's create the admin one. And we have to generate this file with this content. To remove this. I don't want to mirror github.org. And now we only have to restart this unit. And from here we can see the progress of the configuration of the trove. It has finished, and now we can, well, first of all, we are going to we are going to create some rules to be able to access to the port 80 of this machine from my browser. I'm going to allow everything. Now if we put here an IP, it just works. The trove is running. And this is the lorry controller status page. And that's it. Thank you.